Hey, what's up? Are you guys hanging in there? I have an amazing video for you today. Did you see this? Trump at the Bronx barber shop at a barber shop in the Bronx. Okay, take two. Trump at a barber shop in the Bronx. Okay, check this out. This was cool. I love this. I love how this election isn't the regular old run-of-the-mill election. I mean, it's entertaining. It's exciting. It's scary. It's got it all this election season, but we're going to make it through this.
Former President Donald Trump joined me at Knockout Barbershop in the Bronx to talk to voters. Here's a look at that.
Nice to see you all. Wow, how are you? Nice to see you. Huh? How good are the barbers here?
Excellent.
I'll bet they're good. Let's see. I can see they're good. They look good to me. Nice soft floor. What's that all about? Why is it so? Wrestling matches. Thank you. Nice to see you all. How are you? Nice to see you. Big hands, strong guy. How are you? Nice to see you. So you're the owner?
My son's the owner.
Oh, you did that very nice and easy, huh? Is he as good as you?
Great.
Good. Nice to see you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So, Mr. President, you know, I've been going to the barbershops all across the country.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have a natural conversation,
Good.
you know, with these folks right here. So this fellow right here, he used to be in law enforcement for some years. What would you say is the most important issue facing the country right now?
For me, it's the border.
Right.
For me, it's the border.
I agree.
And how to control that, how to keep illegal migrants from coming into the country.
Right.
Very important for me. And if I had a question to ask about it, would be how do we control the city, sanctuary city? Because New York is
We get rid of them. We
Yes.
get rid of them because they're sanctuary. You know what they're for? Criminals. And all over the country, the criminals go there. But you're
That's exactly it. I'm in Denver, Colorado, and we're a sanctuary city. And I spoke to the police because I'm hearing gunshots every night. I grew up here. And then I moved to LA for over a decade. And of course, the crime in LA now is just through the roof. But 20 years ago when I lived there, it wasn't like it is here in Denver right now. So I talked to the police. I'm like, what is going on? And of course, Governor Polis here in Colorado and everybody, they love to gaslight us and go, oh, it's just in your imagination. But if you actually talk to the police, they'll tell you it's a real problem. She said it's absolutely a real problem. And they fingerprint them, but they have no documents. And then she said, because it's a sanctuary city, we end up letting them go a lot of times. She's like, you know, if they have like a heinous crime, of course we let them in. I mean, we book them and all that, but then they end up being able to go back out. And then there's no documents. She's like, we just have the name that they gave us and their fingerprints, and that's it. And criminals know that. This harms also the good people who are coming over here illegally. You have to have some kind of law and order. You have to. It's like a good parent. Of course, the wild kid doesn't want any kind of structure or discipline, but it's healthy for them. I was just at a birthday party with my daughter, 8 years old, one of her friends from school birthday party at this like crazy place. It's like a little, almost like a mini Vegas, right? Dave and Buster's. Have you guys been there? It's like a little mini gamble. It's like, you know, training the kid to be in Vegas. It's like a way for the parents can go get hammered and bring their kid to the arcade, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of a weird place in my opinion. Sorry, Dave and Buster's. But anyway, there were so many kids there that were just lost, not in the birthday party. The birthday party was great, but like other people, of course, other people. But, you know, I mean, I'm just being honest. There were kids there that just looked lost and they wanted some boundaries and discipline. And the parents instead were like following them around, like, oh, what do you need? What do you want? That's what Kamala has created in our country. And when you have no boundaries, no borders, no law and order, you have a lot of lost people, a lot of bratty kids, a lot of bratty adults. It doesn't work. So of course, nobody really wants to clean their room. Nobody wants that structure as a kid, but ultimately they actually do, because it makes them feel safe when there's structure and boundaries. It's healthy.
You're right. You know, the polls are showing that inflation and not the border is third. They have inflation and the economy as the number one and number two issue. I disagree. I think inflation is massive. The economy is massive. But the border to me is like, it's the fabric of our country. And we had the strongest border in recorded history. 4 years ago, you had a border. You didn't have the problems that you have now. Last week, they announced that we had 13,099 convicted murderers released from jails all over the world. You know, it's not South America. It's all over the world, including South America. So I agree with you. I think the biggest problem we have is the border. It's something, and it's also the hardest thing to solve. And the only way you can solve it, you have to get the criminals, the murderers, you got to get them out. You got to get them out fast before they prey on our people.
That was a big question for me because I'm a retired New York City detective.
Right.
So in New York here, we've run across that for
Well,
a
the
long
other
time.
problem you have is that you're not allowed to do your job.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. That's what the police told me. They said the problem is we're not even allowed to really do our job properly. And that's a huge issue. One of my friends in Chicago, she said people are showing up by the busload, quite literally. And she said they don't look like the friendliest of crew. And in Chicago, you know, over the summer, I think it was in June, they made it so that if you've been in Chicago for 2 months, you don't have to have any ID. You get a US ID. What about, how does that make the people who came here, had to like pass the test, go through all the thing, get sponsored by a job, and then become a citizen? How do you think that makes them feel? When just, if you've been here 2 months, it doesn't matter. If you're a murderer, if you've done heinous crimes, it doesn't matter. And by the way, the police officer also told me the problem is, you know, places like Venezuela and stuff, we don't have a deal with them where they have to even let us know who these people are. So they can just come over and we don't even have to know if they've murdered 25 people in Venezuela. It's like, just come on over there. Yeah, we believe in love here. So you're going to be loving here, right? No, they're going to be how they were all the time. And the Venezuelans should be upset about that because of course there's good Venezuelans. Of course they should be upset that the criminals are ruining their name, not Donald Trump. The criminals are ruining good people's names.
And when you were there, you go back 10, 15 years, when you were there, you were allowed to do your job.
Yes.
New York's finest. They're still New York's finest, but they're not allowed to do their job.
So when you were president, I know for a fact, I was able to do three things. I was able to see money, save money, spend money.
Right.
Now in the past almost 4 years now, I'm losing my business basically. The
Are you
money's
losing
just
it?
not there.
It's your business.
It's my business. I started it for the past 10 years. And the only time I knew I made it was when you were in office. So I could speak for myself.
Right.
And the thing is, it's like, I don't know what more to do. How can we make the economy come back?
How do you get to the bottom of
So here's what we're doing. Number one, it all began with the oil. They screwed around with what I did with oil. We had the greatest, we were energy independent. You remember back 4 or 5 years ago, $1.87 for a gallon of gas. We actually had it lower than that for your car, $1.87. Now it's at 3.5, but it was much higher. They brought back my policies to break even, but by that time the damage was done. And now you have inflation and you have the cost so high, and they haven't got.
See, that's what I've been saying too. Some people say, oh no, it's wonderful and we're doing great and all this stuff. The only reason why we're even hanging on by a thread, you know, so for those of you that think like, hey, it's an awesome economy and I'm just going to gaslight you. If you're doing badly, it must be because your business sucks. Right, Kamala? If you're doing badly, it's your fault. And it's like, no, it's all these things working together. It's inflation. It's the economy. It's the not being able to use natural resources. It's the crime. And that deflates morale. You know, it's funny. I used to work at this place and in the manager's office, it said, the beating shall continue until morale improves. That's how I feel Kamala's whole philosophy is. Like she's going to beat us into submission. And her whole campaign has felt to me like, remember when, you know, everyone always listened to the radio? Maybe you still do. The radio still exists. But there would be like a hit song. But it wasn't a hit song at first. But they just played it over and over and over. And at first you hated the song. And then suddenly you started like just getting used to it. And then pretty soon you're like, I like that song. That's Kamala's campaign to me. It's like nobody liked her at first. And then they're like, yeah, you do. Yes, you do. Here she is. Here she is again. You like her. You like her. And then people are like, okay, I guess I do like her. she's not a racist, but is she? Is she not a racist? Because I think the things she's saying, little racism-y, actually a lot racism-ish. What? It's not good.
Gone down. We're going to do two things. Interest rates are going down. It's going to be brought down. It's going to be brought down fast, but much more importantly and quicker, we're going to drill, baby, drill. You've heard that, right? Drill, baby, drill. We're going to get our oil. We're going to have much more of it that we're going to do 4 to 5 times more than we're doing right now. We can do that. These people are amazing. They can do it. And we'll be supplying it to Asia. We'll be supplying it to Europe. We'll be supplying it to everywhere. And that's going to bring down prices. It's going to bring down the cost of everything. If you make donuts, when you look at these stores, they have trouble.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that the only reason we are doing better than a lot of countries after the pandemic is because of the policies that they didn't abolish of Trump's, or the ones that they brought back. So imagine if we could have all of his policies, how much better we would be doing, right?
They have stoves and ovens. You have your lighting. You have all this, equipment. And all of that electric equipment that he's using on your beautiful head of hair. You have a good-looking head of hair. I'm jealous. Look at that flat top. I'd have a flat top. I wish I had a flat top. You never had a hair loss problem, did you? It's lucky. He's one of those gifted ones. Anyway, what you do? Those machines are very expensive. They're running the machines that electric. When that comes down, like in a shop like this, no matter what you do, it's about energy. We're going to bring it down. We're going to get the prices down. How's your rent done in terms of, do you own the store or is it rented?
No, it's rented.
And is the landlord a good guy? Is he okay?
Yeah, he's a good guy.
All right?
Yeah.
Do you cut his hair, I hope?
I mean, he comes in from time to time.
You know what? If you're as good as your father says, right, and you cut his hair great, that's very important to barber to a guy. So he could be a wealthy landlord, but he'll give you a low rent, because having a good barber is a very important thing, I can tell you.
So, Mr. President, you got a young guy right
That's a
there.
big thing, though.
It's a huge thing.
So how has your rent been? So where was it like 5 years ago, the rent?
I mean, the rent was significantly lower. Now it's gone up about 1,200 since.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a big increase.
My issue was more the energy. I've been paying $2,100 since I first opened up. In the last 7 months, it shot up to $15,000.
What?
It's $15,000, and that's
You went from 2,100
to $15,000 in this establishment.
Do you understand how energy is so important for all of us, even this barbershop owner, all of us? When you can't even afford to keep the lights on, you can't afford to run your business. $15,000 from 2,100? And then the gaslighters are like, oh, that's just, if you're like, I can't, well, that's just because your business isn't good. And then, so then you try to raise the prices, and then they're like, oh, we're going to go after you, price gouge. And that is another reason why Kamala's proposal on price bands is not a good idea. Because if it first of all, it doesn't serve anybody, because she's going to try to go after the grocery store owners who only make a 1% to 2% margin, or is she going to go after the farmers who are also being regulated and can hardly make any profit? And if she really does that, it's going to be detrimental to our economy. It's going to be horrifying. And where does it stop? Where does it stop? Then she might say, okay, now all hairstylists have to charge the same. All barbershops have to charge the same. Meanwhile, this guy's like, well, maybe I have to charge a little bit more because I'm having to pay the more energy and the higher rent and all the things. Things have changed. The cost of shampoo is even more expensive, or whatever the case is. Water, electricity, all the things. And then she's like, nope, everyone has to charge the same amount. Well, then that barbershop's going to go out of business, who can't afford that kind of a policy. Do you see how price control is really dangerous? Where does it stop?
How many heads can you take care of? That's a lot, right?
It's like somebody stealing and using for a lot.
So what? From 2,100 to 15,000.
Yeah,
so there's an example, though. Energy, right? So energy, when that comes down, ready? I almost hate to say, because you'd be at 7,000, right? But your energy bill from January 20th, if I win, we gotta win. And by the way, and we're in New York, and these guys love New York.
Great again.
If we win, oh, I love this guy. Look at that.
Tell me in the comments. Do you think Trump's going to win? Tell me in the comments. What do you think? What do you think? Let me know. If you're finding value in this video too, please subscribe. This is our way to campaign. And even if it's 100 people, 200 people, those people talk to people. We can make a difference. So if you want lower prices on things, if you want to be able to run a business and provide for your family, if you want to be able to walk down the street and feel safe, please subscribe. It actually helps all of us. It really does, because the more of us talking about this, the more the information gets out there and the less will be censored.
Give me that hat. I'm going to sign up. Come on, give me that hat. I love this guy. Thank you very much. That's beautiful. I'll sign yours too. Look at that one.
We fighting with them. He might not be
So
able to
what?
book him. He's very busy. I don't know why.
He's going to keep busy for a long time. So let me ask you, how much is it like a haircut? An average haircut. Guy comes in, he wants
$30, $40.
Yeah.
Right now.
What did it used to be?
15, 12, 15. Yeah.
But we're talking about 10 years ago.
And
Now,
yeah.
we have to make it make sense. You know,
Right.
like we can't charge the regular prices, especially out here in our
Do you have guys like these guys? Do they come in?
See, that's the thing. He can't just suddenly charge $300 like some hairstylists are, because where he is and his client base wouldn't support that. So it's like you're doing whatever the market can bear, but you're also trying to make a living. I mean, so it's not just, the business owners are not the big bad people that Kamala likes to make us out to be. It's like business owners are good people. And if she really wanted most, right? Of course, there's bad people in anything. We can pick apart anything. But most people, most Americans trying to earn a living are just trying to do the right thing, trying to provide a service and make money. And her idea about this opportunity economy for new people who've never built anything, it sounds wonderful, but what about us? What about the people who were contributing to society and employing people, and then we had to let them go because of these policies? Or what happens to the people who have totally stopped working because they cannot afford this? And so they're just living totally off the government. A lot of business owners. I mean, this is sad. Why not help them? Why not stimulate the economy by helping the people who've already been in business, who have already been proving that they can contribute and make money and all that stuff, but they just can't under these policies, these strangling policies. People like me and people like this barbershop owner, nothing. Except, tax credits for new businesses. That doesn't help us. Tax credits for new families, that's beautiful. But what about us that have already had families that are really hurting?
I'm going to negotiate the price.
Yeah.
They probably do. I would do that.
What's your question for the president?
What is the plan to do?
See, Trump is even like, you're underpricing yourself, because he knows that some hairstylists are charging $1,000. And this guy's a good guy with a good barbershop. He probably should be charging more. But then the people that go to him are like, please don't charge more, because our electricity is expensive and our gas, and we can't afford food. And so we won't be able to come here and get our hair cut anymore if you charge more. So see how it's a ripple effect. It hurts everybody.
Do about the food healthcare industry and getting the artificial foods banned in our urban communities that have less access to organic whole foods.
So Bobby Kennedy, right? Everybody likes Bobby. And he's so big into the health food and women things, everything. He wants to do things in the environment. And he endorsed me. First time a Kennedy's ever endorsed a Republican. Maybe it's going to be the last, but I doubt it. And he's a great guy. He would be so perfect. He doesn't like artificial foods, and he doesn't like pesticides and all the stuff they put on them. And if you listen to him for 10 minutes, I mean, he says other countries that don't do anything are healthier than us. Okay, we're not that healthy, to put it mildly. So no artificial foods. We don't want artificial. We have plenty of food. The food isn't our problem. And our farmers are great. And our farmers aren't allowed to do their job. Our farmers did great 4 years ago. They were doing just about the best they've ever done. They're not doing well at all now. We're not going to have artificial foods. We don't want artificial foods. We want healthy foods. And a lot of things are going to be going. And I'll tell you, I'm going to have Bobby Kennedy involved in it. He's a great guy. And even the way when I mentioned his name, all you guys, and you're tough cookies. You wouldn't think sometimes you'd say maybe you wouldn't like a guy like Bobby, but he's a person that talks more about food and health than anything else. So I think that's cool. So we'll get it taken care of. You'll be healthier and
make barbers great again. That's awesome. I love this. What do you guys think of this?
4 years from now than you are now, and you look very healthy to me, by the way.
All right, brother.
Thank you. Go ahead.
What do you have for
Yes,
the
Mr.
president?
Trump. My biggest concern is the future and the future generation,
Right.
my kids' generation.
Yeah.
A lot of people are worried that attaining the American dream at this point in time and in the near future is going to be unattainable for this upcoming generation, which I have kids that are part of that generation.
How many kids you have?
I have two, a 17 and an 18-year-old.
Good.
Now, I believe one of the biggest hurdles we have when it comes to attaining that American dream is overtaxation.
Yeah.
When it comes to federal taxes,
Right.
I know we're going to bring back, I'm sure you're going to start back up the pipeline,
Right.
the Keystone Pipeline,
In 2 minutes.
which is going to generate an abundance of revenue.
Right.
Also with the tariffs that you've spoken of. So my question is, with all this extra revenue
Yeah.
we're going to be bringing into the country, so do you believe at some point in time we could find a way, once the country's back on its feet and getting enough revenue and paid off our debt, do you
Yeah.
think it's possible to find a way to eliminate federal taxes?
There is a way. There is a way.
And how do you feel about it?
You know, in the
And what
old
steps would you
days
take?
when we were a smart country, in the 1890s and all, this is when the country was relatively the richest it ever was. It had all tariffs. It didn't have an income tax.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we have income taxes, and we have people that are dying. They're paying tax, and they don't have the money to pay the tax. No, in the old days, 1890, 1880, we had so much money. They had to set up committees, blue ribbon committees, how to spend our wealth. We had no idea how to spend it with so much money. Then we went to the income tax system, and the rest is sort of history. But no, there is a way. I mean, if what I'm planning comes out, it's a great question, by the way.
Everyone could
You're
attain
a
the
pretty
American dream.
sophisticated cat, you know.
Everyone could attain the American dream if it wasn't for the high cost, the burden of high taxes, and we're
Everything.
taxed at every step of the way.
Yeah.
When we make it, when
And
we spend
regulations. And regulations. So I cut more regulations in 4 years than any other president by 4 times. Yeah, let's go. You would ask one question.
What is one thing that you probably feel like you didn't do in your first term that you feel like you could do better now?
I'll tell you the one thing, because I did, look, we had the best economy with the best border. We had so I did a lot of good stuff, rebuilt the military. It's all about people. I got to get the right people. You know, when I went there, I won. 92% of the presidents, 92% for the whole history of our country were politicians. 8% were generals. No admirals. 8% were, that's it. That's 100%. 92 and 8. They were politicians and they were generals. General Washington, et cetera, et cetera. George Washington. Thank you. You're doing very good at that.
You know what?
I'm just going to sign this.
I got longer arms than you.
Yeah, you do have longer arms. So here's what we do. We take all of that and we come, and here comes Donald Trump down the line. And so it's about people. It's all about people. I went to Washington 17 times in my entire life. So I wasn't a Washington person. I was a New York person. So when I went to Washington, all of a sudden I'm standing in the White House opposite the Lincoln bedroom. And I said, man, this is so amazing. But I didn't really know too many. So I had to rely on people to give me recommendations for people, to run agencies, to be secretary of this, secretary of that, all big stuff. And I didn't know anybody. I had to rely. And I still did great. Look, we rebuilt the military. We knocked out ISIS. We did all these things. We did great. We had the best economy. We had the best everything. Everything was good. But I had some people that if I had it to do again, I wouldn't have used. Now I've been there 4 years, plus another 4 that I'm sort of there in a way. I know the best people. To me, it's all about people. You got to have the right people. We have the best people lined up. We're going to do a great job.
See, and that's the thing. He's able to admit his shortcomings, which were hiring and putting people in positions that were crooked politicians. And he didn't know, because he didn't realize how crooked things were until you get on the inside. And that's why they hate him even more now, because now he really knows. And that's why I believe that we need a businessman, not a prosecutor. We need a businessman, somebody who understands how to build. Kamala always loves to make fun of him because he's like, oh, he went bankrupt, 4 times or whatever it was, 6 times. It doesn't matter. I don't care if he went bankrupt 95 times. The more times he went bankrupt, the better, in my opinion, because then he built it back up. That tells me if you can lose everything and then build it back up, you know how to create. If you've never created anything in your life, you're going to look down on that type of person. But if you've built anything, you understand that there are big risks involved. And if you can lose everything and go to the top, that's the person that I want running a company, running a country, not a politician, not a prosecutor. What do you think? That's my opinion. I'm Leah Marlene. This is the Hutchison House. Thank you so much for being here. Please do subscribe if you found value in this video and watch another video.